All right, guys. More common sense conversation from a common sense guy. Sarah Palin, the Tea Party darling, endorses Donald Trump. What do I think about this? You know, here's what I think. I think Donald Trump knew people were finally looking into what he stood for 6 months ago, a year ago, going back to the 1990s. Donald Trump has consistently been a progressive and mainly a Democrat progressive. This is a man who praised Obamacare. This is a man that praised Obama himself. This is a man that was in favor of the bank bailouts. This is a man who was in favor of the auto bailouts. This is a guy who's in favor of an assault weapons ban. This is a man who, partial birth abortion. He would not eliminate partial birth abortions. This is a guy who has admitted several times that he identifies mainly with Democrats. This is a guy who hires massive amounts of illegal labor to build his buildings, and he profits off that at the expense of the American construction worker. So he knew when it came down to him and Ted, people were going to start looking, conservatives were going to start looking past his speeches and see what he stood for, not just in the last 30 days, not in the last 3 to 6 months, but what he really stands for. Because here's what you got to ask yourself, and I'll get to Sarah in a minute. Donald is what, in his 60s? Here's a man who has spent most of his adult life being a Democrat, being a progressive, thinking the way he thinks. What does that tell you about his mental capacity to make good decisions throughout his life? Oh, he's a good businessman. He knows how to put that slimy grease in those dirty cogs that he now says he doesn't like. It's kind of funny. He's against all that stuff now, supposedly, when he profited billions of dollars by being the slime that kept those cogs going. He's the grease in the dirty cogs. That's the truth. Now, Sarah Palin, Donald Trump knew he was losing conservatives. He needed to do something to try to take the edge off that. And by bringing in Sarah Palin, he admitted he has no conservative credentials. None. Zero. All he has is a bunch of, shut up, you're fired. That's all the guy has. So he brought in Sarah Palin. Now here's something else. We've been hearing the last month or two how Donald Trump is getting all these moderate, the blue dog Democrats coming over because they can't stand Bernie Sanders. He's a socialist, an admitted socialist. Hell, he's not even a Democrat, but he's running on a Democrat ticket. Hillary Clinton, who should end up in jail, Democrats just don't like him. So what do these blue dog Democrats do? They look at the next closest thing to progressives, which is Donald Trump. So there's, a reasonable number of these moderate Democrats that support Trump. But you know what moderate Democrats really hate? They hate Sarah Palin. Now that he brought on Sarah Palin, I think some of these blue dog Democrats might be like, wait a second. No. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a net negative. How much, I don't know. But like I said, Trump, by bringing Sarah in, admitted he's not a conservative and lacked conservative credentials. He brought in Sarah Palin. And by the way, if you listen to her speak, I'll tell you what, had she not been on the stage, she'd have been in front of the stage throwing her panties on the stage to Donald Trump. She sounds like a groupie to some rock and roll band. It was horrible. She also said, the same line that Donald did about, oh, isn't it great that he's self-funding? He's not beholden to anybody else. Okay, you know what that is telling me as a non-billionaire? It's telling me that Sarah Palin thinks like Donald Trump does, that only billionaires should run for president. Because, hey, only billionaires can really self-fund. So if you think that is such a great thing that they're self-funding, that means you want billionaires only to be president. How crappy of an idea is that? So that's kind of my take. on Sarah Palin. Oh, plus, she does not have the juice she used to have. I mean, think about it. She joined the ticket with John McCain. John McCain is hardly a conservative. Okay? So, while she talked a good game, and, I'm sure she's great as a person, but I think, when it all comes down to it, I hope Iowans look at it and look past the personalities, look at the history, look at the belief system, the long-term belief system. And let me say this about ethanol. Ethanol is a crap fuel. It is a garbage fuel. It is it's horrible. It gets 25% less miles per gallon. It uses massive amounts of water. It drives up the cost of, human consumption corn. It drives up the cost of feed for cattle and poultry, etc., which, drives up the cost of those products to us. So while you have this small select group of people lining their pockets with ethanol subsidies, the rest of us are paying increased fuel prices and food prices because of it. So I want you to think about that. We all, as conservatives, don't like that Barack Obama subsidized people like Energy One and Solyndra, all these green companies, and lost, what, $90 billion, $100 billion on, subsidizing, these green companies. Well, I got to tell you, ethanol is no different. It's sucking massive amounts of water out of the water tables. Like I said, it's driving up costs to everybody else. Just so what? A few farmers can line their pockets with a bunch of ethanol money. It's a garbage fuel. It's not. Look, anyone out there who has a flex fuel vehicle knows if you put gasoline in it and run it, and then you switch it over to that E85 garbage, you get 25% less fuel economy. I know. So, Iowa, and the Iowa governor needs to extract his head out of, Donald Trump's, keister. What a kiss butt. I mean, seriously. I mean, he's a Republican. He's not a conservative. And, so long as he keeps, that subsidy money coming into Iowa, screw the rest of the country, the hell with them. I mean, we're tired of this. We got to start fixing things. And, if the bank bailouts were bad, and the car bailouts were bad, and bailing out green companies, if all these bailouts were bad, well, then I got it, and subsidies to these green companies are bad, well, then subsidies to these farmers are just as bad. You know what? We're not going to, these farmers who are growing this type of corn for ethanol plants, who cares if they go out of business? You live by the subsidy, you die by the subsidy. That's how I view it. And, if ethanol subsidies go away, well, then go back to growing food-grade corn or soybeans or whatever the crop is, that you can make money at. But these subsidies have got to stop. I don't owe a farmer a living. I don't care if a farmer goes out of business. If a farmer goes out of business, another farmer will buy his farm and farm it. That's what will happen. Just like anyone else, we don't owe everyone a job. It's got to stop. You got to let the free market do what the free market does. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I didn't want to go too far off the rails, with the whole Donald Trump, Sarah Palin thing. I think Sarah's lost a lot of her juice now. And Donald Trump just exposed himself as not having conservative credentials. Whether people wake up soon enough to realize that, I don't know. But, yeah, appreciate you watching and love to hear your feedback.